thank you, Elisabeth. Gianfranco?
I would like to know more about pivotality, the idea of pivotality.
So basically two things. First, is it full-fledged causal conception, and is it a kind of counterfactual causal position? And this means that in case of overdetermination, we have no sense of we-agency. And second question is, okay, it seems that if I may control the collective outcome fully, it depends on me. This is an action. This is my action, not a we action. So I would like to know the relation.
I missed the second bit.
If I can control fully the outcome depends on me. It seems that this is not a collective action. It's not a we. It's a me.
Yeah, so regarding the first one, yeah, I borrowed this notion of pivotality from the people in actually game theory, where they define pivotality in counterfactual ways. So if it was not the case that I had done that, would that have changed the outcome of the action? Or if I had not been acting, would that have changed the outcome of the action? So how indispensable is the agent for the action is a way I would phrase it, so I don't know how much. Now, with regard to control, yes, this is precisely what I was saying. When someone is in full control of a joint action, there's typically some kind of asymmetry, because it means that the other participants have less control. And in that case, what you might have is, instead of an experience of we agency, an experience of enhanced individual agency, like others are not really partners, a social tool you're controlling, and by controlling them, you're controlling the outcome. That's why I insisted on the fact that we agency requires some forms of symmetry. If something is completely asymmetrical, you won't get an experience of we agency.
Just a very quick question. Do you have an idea about what happens from an ontological point of view, the development of a we and I self-agency?
So here I was trying to talk only about phenomenology. So I was trying not to.
I just asked you if you have any idea, not what.
Okay, so if so I don't have set views on that. So I don't believe in that you have to postulate some metaphysically some kind of supra-individual entity to which you attribute the things. I think it's more of a psychological thing that you. So one way to do it is that to say that the mode under which you represent. I mean, if we forget about phenomenology and think about, the intentions there, and there are several ways to conceive of collective intentions. One is to say, okay, they have a plural subject. Another is to say what makes them collective is their content. An intention is that we do something. And the third way is to say that what makes them collective is the mode under which they're entertained. So we intentions as opposed to I intentions. So I think I would go for the last option.
Yes, thank you. That was very interesting, although I know little about it, so the questions may be misplaced. But the first one, I was wondering regarding the dismissal of individuality in an army. How, because the army seems to be a case of prisoner's dilemma, insofar as fighting in a battle gives the incentive for the individual is to flee, because the battle will be won regardless of whether they are there. So the individual rationality here seems to go against the group action, even though on a collective level it's rational, which seems different from the other cases you mentioned, like the orchestra or. So I don't know if this plays a role. And then I had another question about how the we factor could be related to a them factor in competitive environments. So does, in a competitive...
Okay, regarding the first issue, yeah, the military is special, and that's why it's so. Sorry, I didn't go into the detail, but I wanted to distinguish a sense of, I mean, in some other work I've done, I distinguish a sense of we agency as something which eliminated or tried to reduce to minimum a sense of self. And a sense of joint agency, which tried to balance both. And in this military case, we're at this extreme of we agency, and actually everything is done. If you read, I read stuff on how US Marines are trained, and basically what you want is to do everything to erase individuality, to make sure that people think and behave only as part of a group. And typically it seems that you have to, the more you go through harsh treatment as a group, the more you can build the sense that you exist only as part of the group. So your temptation to defeat in a prisoner's dilemma is reduced, because then it's not I, it's we. So we move to some kind of what Pacherie would call in game theory, asking the question, what should we do, instead of asking the question, what should I do? So that was the first question. I'm afraid I've forgotten this, but the second was...
about the them. We, them.
Oh yeah, no, it's sorry, it's something I didn't, but of course in social psychology, it's obvious that the presence of some other groups tends to reinforce identity, and there's a big controversy in social psychology as to whether actually the existence of some other group is needed for a sense of collective identity. And so people are arguing back and forth for or against that claim. So I'm not taking a position here, I'm just saying that indeed, at least there's a positive effect on your sense of belonging to a certain group if there's some out group there.
Any other questions? Carlo?
Well, actually, we is using. I mean, it's used in a series of inclusive, more and more inclusive way. So, is there any way to detect or to define, to teach, or to learn how to individuate which kind of a we is used? Because take an election, we voted. We Italian, we I and my friend, we in our section, we in our town. Well, who are the we in case where the collective action is subdivided in group? Is there a clue, or there is only a conceptual clue, generic conceptual clue you have to guess? Or there is something more specific which helps understanding at which level you use we?
So okay, so there's a we which is, there's a we which is you and I, and there's a we where the you and I have dissolved, so to speak. And the question is, where do you...
Okay. In between.
What is in between? Yeah, I think it's typically a continuum, and I mean, even the US Marines may sometimes act selfishly in self-protection rather than for the group. Okay, actually, these measures of the sense of agency are being operationalized. So now there's been a number of recent experiments that try to tease apart these two, and so the phenomenology might be a criterion for that. Another thing. is and there's this notion also that self-other discriminability, the extent to which, even in joint action, your contribution is discriminable from the contribution of someone else, may be something that varies together with the degree to which you're located on the we and the we, you and I positions on this dimension. But I'm not sure I'm answering your question.
Any other questions? Well, actually, we have just run out of our time, so I think that it's a good thing we can thank Elisabeth for. And I will just say a couple of words to conclude these 2 days discussions and work, collective, I would say, joint action work. And I will leave to you to answer the question whether a we has been produced or just a number of I's are still there. So what are, I was thinking this morning, what are the 2-day criteria about which we can judge whether a conference or a workshop or seminars is successful? I think that we can single out 2 different criteria. One is, did I learn something out of this conference? And the second is, about what I knew already something. These papers made me think, made me reflect, made me go deeper in my thoughts. And I think, personally, I think that I can answer yes to both questions. This morning I had breakfast, at the lavish breakfast of the Savoy Hotel. I pestered poor Marconi, who happened to have breakfast with me, with a question about whether his conception of semantic normativity can move out of the realm of semantics and go into the realm of practical normativity. It was sort of puzzled, and then he told me, you have to ask this question after 11 o'clock at night. So we will go on in our discussion once you're back home. But then I felt a lot of questions about papers on equal respect, on equal dignity, on collective agency, all subjects that one time or another in my work I've been familiar with, and I think that at the end I had new thoughts and new ideas and new insights, and I hope that these feelings that I had were shared by you. So personally, I think that this conference has been very successful. And I think that I have to thank you, all of you, for participating in this joint enterprise, all the speakers, the invited speakers, the contributions, all the discussions that has been produced here. And as a last concluding remarks, I have to say that this is a midterm SIFA conference, and it takes place, I think, about a quarter of a century after the first SIFA conferences. The first, I don't know exactly the year, probably 94. 94 was the first SIFA conference, about which we now have a record, because on the website of SIFA now there are recorded all the interventions and papers which were presented in that first SIFA conference, thanks to Carlo Penco, and I cannot remember your name, I'm sorry.
No problem.
It's Alzheimer.
Sandro Balletta.
Okay. And thanks to these 2 people, we have now a record of what we were. We almost very few people who are here now were there in 94, but probably there is this continuity of a collective subject, so we can say we were. And one thing we can notice is that not only analytic philosophy in Italy has expanded in quantitative terms because there are more young students who are practicing analytical philosophy, but it has also enlarged in its extension, I mean, in many different domains. At the beginning, it was basically philosophy of language or philosophy of science. There were some moral philosopher, legal philosopher, but were just one or two persons. But now, I mean, I think that it's a good development, that it has expanded in many other fields, and I think it's a good development that we see still few, but much more women that we had at the beginning, and so many young people so well prepared with very good skills in presenting their papers. So I think we can be, well, not satisfied, because satisfaction is something that is not a good feeling, because then we sit on our satisfaction, but we can say, well, we have done a good job, we have to go on this path. And this is my personal feeling, and I hope that this is shared with you. But before closing, I have to thank all the people who have been working very, very hard for this conference. First of all, Carlo Penco, who did basically a lot of things. I mean, he organized the coffee breaks, the buffet, and these are very important things. And people need to, these things, and he organized a lot of things. And so we are very grateful to him and all the teams from Genoa. I don't remember the names, but I remember Federico Zuolo, Damiano Sanancelli, Candia, I don't know, she's here, Valeria Ottanelli, and then other people I might not see here, I might not remember their name, and especially the three people from SIFA, namely Francesca Bocconi, Giulia Piredda, and Ciro De Florio, without whom we could not have done, this conference. So thanks to all of them and to all of you for your participation. And see you in September for the big event in Novara, okay?